today's session or live stream is going to be focused on making trees. We're doing another live stream. It is Saturday, it is the afternoon, so everyone should be pretty much chilled out completely. Today's session or live stream is going to be focused on making trees. It's a comment I've had quite a few times. People are always interested in how to make unusual things. And I think trees is one of those things that Lego never really seems to get right, or seems to struggle with, really. I mean, the traditional Lego tree are those little sort of pointy things or the round things, and there's not really anything else in between. So today's session, we're going to focus on just simple techniques for you to make your own trees. I'm going to share with you some of the things that I've done, some of the thought processes I've gone through, just to get you started, really, so you can start making your own, really. Obviously this one here that we've got in front of us, you can just about see that there. That is one of mine, that's my own creation. It took a while to figure out some of this, and this one here still isn't 100% right. I want to make some modifications on it, but I've learned a lot from this and I still think it looks good. Now what we're going to do is focus on this one here today. Let me just turn it around so you can see it. Bring that into shot. It is going to be pretty simple. You will need some specific parts for it to make it work. However, it's not complicated. You know, it's pretty straightforward, it's pretty simple. And these techniques you can then apply to other things as well. So once we've got the techniques down and how it generally fits together, the world's your oyster. You can then go away and make a bigger version of it by putting more bits onto it. You can make smaller versions if you want to. Like these little guys here, like these little bonsai type trees that I've been working on. Let me just bring this up so you can see it. So little things like that. All right, so, and once you've got the technique down, again, these, just as a word of warning, if you do make these bonsai things here, they do tend to fall over really easily, so they'll probably tip over at some point. But again, once you've got the technique down, you can apply it to different types of leaves. It doesn't have to just stay with the usual Lego brick leaf pieces like these. You can bring it over to the palm tree parts as well. It's the same sort of thing. It's the same kind of technique for all of these things. So I'll just show you some of those. This one here is actually very fragile and it will tip over at some point. So like I say, you are going to need a few parts to make trees. That kind of goes without saying, really. And some of the things you are going to need are these leaf pieces. Now they do come in different sizes. You've got the big ones there. You have the little ones here, and they all come in different colors. Lego started to do different colors. So a tree always starts with a trunk. Now trunks come in many varying sizes. You've got the old palm tree ones. You remember these from back in the day with like Lego Pirates and things like that? That's one of those. If you can get some of those, they're really good. For today's sort of tree, this here, we don't need too many bits. We're going to have some of these sort of little 2x2 rounds here. They're going to form like the base for it to actually fit into. We'll probably have a couple of those stacked up, because I don't know whether you've ever noticed it, but these 2x2 rounds that we have here, they actually have a hole for a Technic piece in the top. Now once you start using that, the world sort of opens up for other things that you can start adding into it. Okay, so that we could go away and get a nice little cross socket connector on the end there. That can fit very nicely into that. Okay, and that can start forming the basis, like I say, for other things. That hole also fits lots of different things as well. So for example, if I get this part here, this is just a bendy tree part. It usually comes with like Ninjago and sets like that. Lego Friends, I think, has a lot of these parts as well. But again, that can fit very nicely into this, albeit you're going to have to adapt it ever so slightly by putting another piece in the end of that. Now, in the end there is a little hole. And there is with a lot of pieces like this, you'll get a little hole in the end there where you kind of think, well, nothing really fits in it. What's going to go into that? Well, that's where you need to get hold of some sticks, Lego sticks. They come in varying shapes, sizes. You've got the knights have the spears, same sort of thing. We have these little guys here. I generally see these as things you attach flags to and things like that. Okay, so those sorts of things, that's what we're after, because they fit really well with some of these as well. So what we can do is literally take one of these little sticks here, take our bendy tree part, and just stick it in the end there, and that gives a nice tight fit to that, and that sits really well. Okay, so then what we can do is take that, and then that is an absolute perfect fit to go into these. So we can just push that in, and obviously the further in it goes, the more stability that you're going to have, basically. So you can have, and you can make the trunk a bit taller as well. So you could probably stack 2 or 3 of these up if you wanted to. So I've got just a very simple textured piece on the bottom there. Okay, and that is strong, it's sturdy, it's not going to go anywhere. However, I will say, if you are making trees, you're going to need a good, strong, firm base for these, because trees tend to be very top heavy and they like to fall over. That's just what trees like to do. They just like to fall over. Trees tend to be pretty delicate as well. Okay, bits will fall off. Just when you start moving them around, they do tend to fall apart. So I'm going to try and make these as sturdy as possible. That's what I'm going to try and get across in this tutorial here, and it's making things strong. We don't want to be able to pick something up and have bits fall off of it. Nothing's really going to fall off of that, but having said that, things always fall off of trees. But anyway, let's build this trunk. I want to show you what I've already done here. So if we just take this off, what we're aiming for is this. Can you see in there? This kind of branch structure. We're going to build that up just really simply using pretty basic parts. You can see around here we've got the Lego sticks, there's a spear there, I think there's another spear type of brick there, and then we have these just very normal straight sticks, and that carries on up inside there. So once we've got the trunk kind of built, I'm going to use the trunk that I've already got on this just to show you how that one works. Alright, so this one here is again just the bendy tree trunk parts that you get with lots of Ninjago sets, and lots of different things you get these. But what I've done is we've actually got 2 here. So as we were showing here, there's the first one. Okay, you can see that goes up and around, but you can actually connect 2 together because they have this little tiny connector on the end here. Again, that's a Technic connector on the end there. So if you've got some Technic pieces, you can actually start joining things together. So what we'll probably need, if I bring these parts out here, you'll be able to see them a little bit better, hopefully. What we're going to start to do is use these little round sort of Technic pieces here. Again, a load of those came with Ninjago City. So what we can do is we can use those to connect that onto that, and then we can get another one, is we can actually put those together and we can make interesting tree shapes. We don't have to have just one, we can twist it around so it's facing the other way like that, and we get a nice little really simple trunk shape. Okay, and again, let's just bring it back to our base here. We can put that straight on there, push it down so it's in nice and firm. Like I say, if you want to, you can have a taller end piece there just by making the stick a bit taller and threading it through more of those 2x2 rounds. Okay, so that's nice and simple. I'm just going to get the parts out of the way so they're not interfering with what we're actually doing. So we get a nice round. And now what you've got to watch out for here is, because it's a bendy trunk, it likes to twist. So what you'll find now and again is it wants to twist over, and you've got to make sure that connection in there is actually really strong and really firm. Okay, if you struggle with things bending and twisting and falling over, what you can do is in this end connector piece here is put something in it just to try and keep it open so it gets a bit more grab onto the other piece. Now what I've found is if you use these These are those flexible pipes that Lego likes to use for lots of different things, but they fit absolutely perfectly into the end of that. And if you really wedge that down in there, and then this is probably going to upset some Lego purists, you can cut that off, and that keeps that socket open, so it has a lot more clutch for when you put it into the next piece, and it's less prone to just spinning around on itself. And that's good for anything like that where you've got that Technic connector push pin type of thing happening. Now I've already got one in here. Try and keep that, and that just makes that really stiff and sturdy, and it's good. It holds really well. So that's basically the trunk. And what you can also do is just add on lots of random curved arched pieces, a couple of cheese wedges on there, and it just gives this simulation. It looks like roots. The whole idea of a trunk and roots is to make it look a bit random, so you can go mad on that. It can also help support it as well, so if you put them in the right places, it can help with the weight distribution and stop it tipping over. That's what we're going to use, and that's kind of our trunk starting point. The next bit, or the next problem, are the leaves. How do we get the leaves to sit like a tree? Well, obviously a tree has branches, so our branches are going to be formed with what we're technically going to call the Lego sticks. Okay, like I say, these are either flag bits, they're either spears, anything, or even the broom handles. But now we're going to make those into branches, and obviously branches connect into the central trunk, so we've got to make that happen. We've got to find a way to connect them in to this. How are they going to connect into that? So obviously we need something there. Now this again has that hole in the top for a Lego stick, so we can put in what is technically called a Lego stick. We can get away with probably one of these, maybe a shorter one. Let's just see what we have in the tray here. Let's see if we've got any shorter ones in here, if I can get hold of it. Maybe something like that'll do, but you'll see why we need that anyway in a second. But the longer the stick in the middle there, the more branches you can actually start stacking up. But we've got to bear in mind, let's keep it in proportion. Let's not go too mad with it. So my first set of branches are actually going to connect to this. Again, I don't know the technical name for this, but it's kind of a sort of cross with a hole in the middle. Again, that's a Technic rod axle hole in the middle there. So that could work, but we'll also use a couple of techniques because not everyone's got this. You might not have any of these pieces. So we'll use some of those, and we'll also use these as well. Again, more Technic pieces. Let's bring that up close so you can see it. Again, just a hole in the middle there with two connectors on each side. We can use those as well. Same sort of techniques. So we'll use those, but then we'll need things to actually connect it. So we're going to work through and we'll pick bits out. We're also going to need loads of these. Again, those little round Technic sort of covers that things slot into. Again, I really should look up some of the terminology for these things. But yeah, we're going to use a lot of those as well. So let's start building. And the idea of a tree is it kind of tapers in at the top. So whenever you build a Lego tree, bear that in mind. A tree generally is a pointy shape or a dome type of shape. So it's wider at the base than it is at the top, and we've got to try and create that effect. That's what gives it the realism. So let's start with this. Let's start with that little sort of cross thing there. And what we need to do is we need to get these sticks to connect to it in some way. So we need something that's going to actually help there. And that's where these Technic pins come in. You can use whatever color you want. You've got these come in, I believe, blue, black, gray, red. It doesn't matter what color they are. Ideally, in an ideal world, we'd use this kind of off-white beige color. But again, we don't always have that. So it doesn't matter what color it is. I've got loads of blue ones, so today I'll use some blue ones just to show you what's going to happen. But again, they fit really nicely into those Lego stick things. They have a really good grip on them, and that can sit on there like that. And then we can get one of the longer sticks and put it in the end. And it has a good grip on it. Look at that. That ain't going anywhere. So that's going to form the basis of our branch. And we can have 4 on here. Now, because it is blue, and even if it was this off-white beige type of color, it would still look horrible. So we need to cover this up, all right? We need to hide that. And the way we're going to hide it is, take it apart first of all, because really we should have done this first. We're going to use those sort of round covers that go over pins. We're going to put a 2x1 on one end, and they also come in singles as well. So we do have the sort of half versions of those, if I can dig around and find one in here. We might not have enough, I might not have sorted out enough for this build, so we'll see. And that can go on that end, so that is really nicely covered up now. You can't actually see there's a blue pin in there anymore, and that's really going to help. Plus putting those over the top gives it that extra strength and gives it that extra clutch power as well. So let's put that onto there, and you can feel it when you push that on. It's really strong. And again, we'll get a Lego stick, we'll shove it in one end, nice, clean, tidy. There we go. And we just need to repeat that process on the other 3, and then we'll do the same on the other pieces. Here we go. Let's grab that, put that in there. That goes in there, and what I'll do is just when I put the last one in, I'll just show it to you so you can see exactly what we've got. This can go in there like that, and then we've got that. Move you out of the way. We've got that, so that is going to form the basis of the first layer of branches. We're probably going to have 3 or 4 layers of branches on here, but we just need to put the sticks in the ends here just to put those together. So again, let's put on the covers for those so we can disguise the blue, and the same for this part here. We'll disguise the blue bits, push that on, and then we'll do the same on the last one there. Push it in. Perfect. Good. Now we can put the Lego sticks in the end. We'll put a stick in that end. I don't know, to add a bit of variety, we'll put a spear on that bit. So we've got a Lego spear on there. Brilliant. All right. Okay. And what else could we have in here? Let's see if we've got another Lego spear, because I like things to be kept even if I can. Perfect. Good. So that's what we now have. We've got... Beautiful. Cool. All right. All right. So what we're going to do is we need to connect that to the top of this now. You could start to use basic Technic pins. So you could put one of those in there. Let's get it the right way around, because that's what this is designed to hold. It will hold a Technic pin. That's what it will do. So you could use those, but then we can start working through and adding those in. Actually, let's put a shorter stick in this time. Like that. All right, so we can drop that back on there. Come on, back on. There we go. And again, let's put that kind of spacer on there that we wanted from before. But again, come back to these Lego Technic pins. They're really useful for this sort of stuff because they fit into the Lego sticks really, really well. And again, that holds nicely. It's really firm. This is what we want with this build. We're making a tree. We don't want it to fall apart after 5 minutes. It's got to stay there. That sticks too long. Let's get a shorter one. There we go. Good. So that can go on. That's better. Perfect. But again, if you wanted to, you could stack it up with these Lego round Technic pieces. Again, I should really look at it. If anybody knows what they're called, let me know. Yes, there we go. So that can drop on there like that. Brilliant. They will spin around, okay? There's no way around that. Spinning branches is fine. It will all start to stiffen up and come together when you add on the leaves, because you can connect those together to stop it spinning around. And again, we'll come back, we'll put those little bits back on again, those other Lego Technic, I keep saying Lego Technic connectors, but those, just Technic connectors will be fine. So they can drop on, because they fit nicely over those pins, they're going to wedge themselves in there nicely, as opposed to just using a stick where they will just spin really freely on those, and that's probably not what we want. So again, they've got some connectors for extra branches, so we can add in the extra branches. Again, use the sticks. Like I said, they come in different varying length. We're going to put another stick, spear handle, whatever you want to call it, flag pole into the bottom 2 there. And there's our second layer of branches. Great. We can move that around as well so that they kind of offset themselves. But then we want to come up another level. We want to put something in at the top there. Now remember what I said, trees come to a point or a dome type of shape, so we don't want any even longer ones up here. They've got to be shorter. And that's the good thing about these Lego stick pieces. They come in lots of different sizes, so you can really quickly and easily make a tree structure using those. And like I say, that's pretty solid. That's not going anywhere. It will stiffen up when we get the leaves and all of the other pieces on there. The last thing we need to do is think about the top. Let's think about that. We've got several choices. I'm going to use the top from the old school palm trees. Now they all used to come with this kind of, but it's got 4 legs on it and it has a pin that sticks out at the end there, which will go into the top. Obviously, if you haven't got one of those, not everybody has, you might be limited on pieces, go back to the Lego sticks again. Go back to those little brown sticks, just get a little one and just wedge it in the top there, because you can then connect a load of stuff off of that. Now, because I have got one of these, I'm going to use that. I'm going to drop it in. And again, it's the same sort of scale as the usual Lego sticks, so it's going to wedge in there really, really nicely. Okay, good. So we've got kind of a tree structure happening there. The next thing we need to do is get some leaves on it. Obviously, we need leaves on trees. They come in lots of different sizes and shapes and colours. The 2 general ones, let's bring those up here so you can see them. We've got the main big leaves, which we'll use for the bulk of this. But then it's always nice to have a bit of contrast on that as well. So if you've got some of the smaller ones or different colours, mix them in, because it adds depth and it makes things look interesting. You can see this tree here has probably got 3 different variations of colour in there. We need to get the leaves onto the branches. Obviously, they've got to sit on here somehow. So we need some sort of connector to go on there. And this is where it gets super simple, because all you need are the little clasp or hook pieces like these. Simple 1x1 clasps or hooks, whatever you want to call these. They also have other ones as well, which have a single 1x1 sticking out of them. You can use those as well if they're facing the right way. But generally these work pretty well for most things. And these really grip. They really have a good grip on these Lego stick pieces. The clasp is brilliant. But what we can do is we can put a leaf piece directly on top of that, like that, and that can connect directly onto my branches. So I can go click like that, and it sits, and I can just carry on adding as many as I want. So I can click and add another one next to it like that. So you can see that starts to build up leaves on trees really quickly. You can have as many as you want. All right, I'm probably going to put 2 on each branch, because we will build it up more afterwards. And again, it doesn't really matter what color these clasps or hook pieces are, because you're going to hide them with leaves anyway. But we just basically clip a leaf piece onto it, clip it onto a Lego stick like this, and because they can bend and twist, you can get them pointing down. They don't just have to sit flat, because that looks really weird when that happens. You can actually get them pointing down. Let's just twist that around, there we go, like that, and they twist down. It just gives it that leaf branch sort of look and feel. So you can see really quickly how that can build up. Now, like I say, we are going to add on more bricks. Now, this is one of the problems with building trees this way. It eats bricks. And we're getting quite a nice dense looking tree on here. We're building it up really nicely. This one does have a skinny trunk on it, but that's fine. Having that skinny trunk actually helps lift it up and keeps the Lego city looking quite open. Right, I'm just looking for a gap now. There's a gap. And then we'll do the top layer, and then we can have some fun just filling in the gaps, really. But then we want these. Can you see how these are the 1x1 pieces with a little hook or clasp on the end there? Because they're facing the other way, that's what I need. Now, how many do we have? We've got 4 there. 4 should actually do it. Let's bring the tree back. Here we go. So what they're going to do is they're going to clip onto the top there, just like that. And then we can connect those leaf pieces onto that. Now, as I'm building this up, the actual leaf pieces are upside down, and I kind of want to keep it like that. So when I do it, I'm going to clip these on upside down. Right, let's put something on the top there. I'm going to go back to my sticks, my little Lego sticks here. I'm going to put a little stick in the top, right in the top there, because we've got space for one and it will fit. So that top one there, I'm just going to get a big old leaf piece and throw it on the top. I'm going to wedge that on. It is quite a tight fit when you do that, but that finishes it off quite nicely. You can see we need some more leaves on those lower branches down at the bottom here. All right, so we're getting there. It's starting to look like a tree. So let's start filling in and making it a bit more dense. And again, to do this, we've got a couple of choices. We either use the smaller branches, just of the same color, like that, just the smaller pieces, or we could flip over to a different color, a different shade of green to add in a bit more interest. Or we could do a combination of both. Let's move those pieces out of the way because we're done with those for the moment. And then what they're doing here is literally just finding places where you think it would look good. Just find somewhere interesting and just put it on. Cool. All right, so we've got that. Now it's on to the next stage. If we're going to add flowers onto it, let's add some flowers, shall we? We want it to look a little bit like this one because in my Lego City Brick Prefecture, it's always springtime. Every day is spring, so we have cherry blossom everywhere, and I really like how it looks. The city is supposed to be the first couple of weeks of spring, sun's out, everything's warming up, you can take your coat off, maybe just have a t-shirt on. That's the kind of feel I want for my city today. I'm more than happy to have lots of flowers on here. Flowers can be literally just one by one rounds. Okay, so if we go here, I'm going to grab a handful of these will probably go everywhere. But they can just be one by one rounds, any colour. For mine, I'm going to stick to pinks. I do have some actual flower pieces here as well, so I'm going to dot those in just to give it a nice look. So we've actually got some of those flower pieces. But what I'm going to do is mix it in. There's just some pink one by one rounds and mix it up. Now what for this, we just go through, wherever you see a space, put a piece on it. So I'm going to put one just there. There we go. This needs more flowers on it, but I'm not going to bore you by adding those on. So there we go. Let's just try and get that to focus in a little bit better. Sticks, clasps on top, put the leaves on, build it up, and like I say, what you can do is the more things you add onto it, the bigger your tree gets. This is kind of where the first one began, and if we put those side by side, you can see this one here is a lot bigger than the one we've just made, but it's exactly the same technique. It's just using those brown sticks and putting more stuff on it. But I will make another one that's about this size, just using more and more pieces, more and more techniques. But yeah, you can see where it goes. So until next time, everybody take it easy. Again, spread the word, hit subscribe, hit like, tell everybody about the channel, get as many people involved as possible. And I will see everybody next time.